Good morning. Welcome to week 4, or good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when you sit down to work on school this week. Week 4. 14 weeks, so we're already through 4 weeks. That's pretty crazy. So looking at my notes here, um, second slide, you'll see your values from your class. It's a pretty wide range of values. That's good, I think. You'll see previous years, the distribution was much tighter, more people picking dignity and self-worth of a client, and less distribution of a wider range of values. I can't explain that. I don't know that that's impacted by my teaching or impacted by other classes that students have taken, and why this year's group, you all, are such a wider range. I do think that's cool, though. So thumbs up there. And thank you, everybody, for getting in those papers. Hopefully my feedback and my thoughts were helpful to you, as well as sharing with you a few of my values. So we're going to talk about cognitive behavioral therapy this week. I'm going to talk more about rational emotive behavioral therapy, which is sort of the father of cognitive behavioral therapy, and that is Albert Ellis. I like the way that model drives. It gives some framework that I think is really helpful. It looks at, of course, broken thinking or stinking thinking or cognitive errors. I've used that model pretty effectively with clients. But clients that had a lot of severe trauma, their pathways, their neural pathways, the way they think, is loaded with a lot of barriers. So just thinking that a few sessions of cognitive behavioral therapy will take care of this, that's really not how it works. It's more challenging to change a person's pathway, change their view of the world, especially with multiple traumas. Also, we're going to end class with, at first you'll think it's kind of silly. It is called the 6 thinking hats. It is very much grounded in cognitive behavioral therapy as a tool. It is a very great tool to use in family therapy, in a group, if you were doing advocacy, if you were doing grassroots social work at an administrative level. It is a way to use cognitive behavioral therapy in a more structured format. And so I hope you will enjoy that. The author of that tool is Edward de Bono. And I'm going to throw a link up on Blackboard for you to go and listen to a 20-minute or so lecture that he gives. He's kind of old school. He doesn't use a PowerPoint. He uses an overhead. Some of you maybe have never seen an overhead before in your life, so please enjoy. I'm not sure if this is the video where he talks about helping a city who is having pollution in their water, but it always reminds me of the example of the town that is struggling with their cliff. They have this cliff where kids play and they constantly fall off the cliff. So the town gets together. How are we going to solve this problem? And so someone has this brilliant idea. Let's put a hospital at the base of the cliff. So they go out, they get funding, they build a hospital so that when kids start falling off the cliff, they're right there. Ambulance runs out, gets them, treats them. What is always the silly part of that example is, why not do something at the top of the cliff to keep them from falling off at all? Putting in a resource center or putting in something to support them and keep them from falling off. So there you go. Have a great week. We'll talk to you next week in week 5.